What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got great news. The Rise of Red Skull expansion of the Marvel Champions living card game has gone and been officially revealed. We knew it was happening. I showed this to you a little while ago now. We were shown essentially a very small version of the front of the box at a little show a few weeks back. But we had precious little information about it. Now we do have a bunch of information about it, and that is wonderful, wonderful news. Yay! Although one thing to point out before we get going, I'm not going to get into this too much today, but suffice to say, the release dates for all of this is in flux, given what's going on in the world at the moment. So what do we know? Well, it's a full-on campaign. We've got two new heroes, Hawkeye and Spider-Woman, together with their pre-built, ready-to-play decks. Sweet. And there are 5 new proper scenario villains with their own decks and all of that. We've got Crossbones and Zola, who we have seen, as well as Absorbing Man, and Taskmaster and Red Skull, about whom we know very, very little. But we'll go into what we've got in a moment. Now, the other thing that's very, very cool here is that this is actually a full-on campaign. You can just play heroes against villains like we've been doing so far, but there is actually a campaign where you play through all 5 scenarios, taking out each villain in turn, and there are choices that echo throughout the campaign, and you can upgrade your decks with cards you find along the way, making it far more of a story than an individual battle against villains like we've seen so far. And there are illustrated comic panels as well in the box, which sounds kind of funky to me. I should also point out that it's not all necessarily that good, because there is an expert campaign with persistent damage between scenarios and punishing obligations if you want to heal. Fun if you're looking for a challenge, brutal if you're not. But of course this is an optional thing, you don't have to do the expert campaign. So what have we got? Well, in terms of heroes, as far as I'm concerned, the really exciting one for me is Spider-Woman. Partly because I'm a big Spider anything in the Marvel Universe fan, and partly because it just looks amazing. Now, in terms of stats here, it's not good. Like at all. 1 thwart, 1 attack, 1 defense, all pretty low, not looking great. Hand size of 5 in hero mode is about what we would expect, and hit points of 11 are fine, but nothing to write home about. But when you play an aspect card, aggression, justice, etc., you get +1 attack, +1 thwart, and +1 defense until the end of the round, giving you a nice respectable 2-2-2 stat line. It's still not phenomenal, but we're at least getting into respectability here. It's quite nice. It's better than some, not as good as all. However, here's where it gets really interesting. That is limited to once per round for each aspect. Oh, so theoretically then, if I could play 2 aspects, then I could potentially get a free stat line, and that would be phenomenal. Oh, we can't play more than 1 aspect though, that's in the rules. Might I introduce you to Jessica Drew? Now, you've got a recovery of 3, which is on the low side. However, double agent. Choose 2 aspects instead of 1 during deck building. You must include an equal number of cards from those aspects in your deck. So you've got to make sure it's even for both of them, but you can play 2 aspects. And there's 2 things that are phenomenal about this. And honestly, Spider-Woman is looking like she could be my favourite of all the heroes so far. Firstly, you get to play 2 aspects. It means that your deck building is much more open. That's good. Secondly, I can now play 2 different aspects during my turn, which means that I can potentially get 3 thwart, 3 attack, 3 defense. That's that's pretty ridiculous. And as if that's not enough, there is an action whereby you can look at the top card of any deck once per round, and any deck means your deck or the encounter deck, etc. Yeah, you can actually get a whole bunch more information. Spider-Woman looks absolutely over the top nuts good, and I am ridiculously excited about this. Now we have been shown a couple of other Spider-Woman-centric cards. Pheromones looks kind of fun. It's a 2-cost event that lets you stun and confuse an enemy. But it is both a Spider-Woman and a leadership card. And remember that when you play an aspect, you get the boost. So it's a good thing that it's leadership as well as Spider-Woman. So that's pretty nice. So suffice to say, I'm pretty excited about Spider-Woman. The other hero we've been shown is Hawkeye. And we have been shown Clint Barton, albeit it's a little bit slanty, shall we say. Now, Hawkeye, what do we see? 1 thwart, 2 attack, 1 defense is not a great stat line. And hit points of 9 are low, like really quite low. It's down there with Iron Man as the lowest, although it is worth pointing out that Iron Man does have a whole bunch of options for boosting HP, so even though Iron Man has the lowest HP, doesn't really worry us because we've got a whole bunch of other options to beef it up. Then you got a hand size of 5 in hero mode, 6 in alter ego mode, which is fine. That's pretty much the average. It's pretty much what we expect. And a recovery of 3, which is on the low side. The stats of Hawkeye kind of suck. But you have got an action in hero mode, exhaust Hawkeye, and ready Hawkeye's bow. So instead of thwarting or attacking or defending, you get to ready your bow. Sounds like there's more going on here. And also, if you're exhausting Hawkeye to ready your bow, then the stats do become basically irrelevant. Now, in alter ego mode, you've got an action whereby you spend 1 resource of any type, and you search your deck and discard part for Hawkeye's bow and add it to your hand. So you can basically have it whenever you want because of your alt mode skill. There must be something going on here with Hawkeye's bow, and there is. It is a restricted card, which means you can only have 2 of any restricted card in your deck. It's a 0-cost upgrade that gives you +1 attack, and each of your arrow attacks gains ranged. Ranged attacks ignore retaliate. Retaliate means that you take 1 damage when you attack a character. Oh, yeah, that seems pretty good. But we've still not seen any reason why we might exhaust the bow. Well, the good news is we've got a couple of arrows we can show you. Explosive Arrow is a 1-cost event. You exhaust Hawkeye's bow, there we go, and choose a player. And you deal 3 damage to the villain and each minion engaged with that player. Dealing 3 damage to the villain and to each minion, potentially multiples, for 1 resource is frankly over the top ridiculous. But in order to do so, you've got to have Hawkeye's bow, you've got to exhaust it. You can't just use it whenever you want. The other one we've been shown is Sonic Arrow. Sonic Arrow is a 2-cost event. You exhaust Hawkeye's bow, and you confuse an enemy and deal 3 damage to it. So you're stopping them scheming, while also dealing 3 damage. If they're already confused, you deal 5 damage. Oh, yeah, again, for just 2 costs, that is, frankly, a little bit ridiculous. Now, we do also have Hawkeye's Quiver. Lets you play arrow events attached to this card as if they were in your hand. And there is a hero action. You exhaust Hawkeye's Quiver, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an arrow event, and place it face up to this card. Or you attach it face up. And the point here is that you basically have a larger hand. There's an extra card there ready to be used that's not taking up one of the spots in your hand. That's actually really, really good. And essentially every turn you get to do this, so you're constantly searching out these arrows. And you can see what Hawkeye's all about here. Rather obviously, Hawkeye is very much all about, right, arrows. Let's go all in for the arrows. And this sounds pretty gosh darn good to me. Now, what is also really, really cool here is that we are getting Hawkeye as an ally, but instead of being Clint Barton, it's Kate Bishop, the other Hawkeye. 1 thwart, 2 attack, 1 consequential damage for each, 2 hit points. So it's only a 2 cost, so cheap. And to be honest with you, 2 attack on a 2 cost ally is really good. It's got an action whereby you exhaust it and discard a card from your hand, dealing X damage to an enemy, where X is the number of printed resources on that card. So actually here, what you could do is sit there pinging away without ever losing Kate Bishop from the field, because you don't take consequential damage for using the action, so you could just do 2 damage while taking 1 consequential damage, or you can just sit there using the action and pinging and never actually losing her. This all sounds pretty gosh darn good. Now, we do need to talk about some villains, and one that I've always been kind of a fan of in the comics is Crossbones. Crossbones comes in, and we got the first stage here that we can see. 12 hit points is fine. Scheme of 1, attack of 1, both are quite low. But while Crossbones has a weapon attachment, his attacks gain piercing. That is a new keyword that discards a tough status before dealing damage. Remember, tough would generally stop damage being dealt. Here, it gets rid of the tough and still deals the damage. So we are going to want a whole bunch of weapons for Crossbones, and we've only got 1 for the moment, but I'm willing to bet we're going to see more in the future. Crossbones machine gun is an attachment, and it uses 2 ammo counters per person, and there is a forced interrupt. When Crossbones attacks you, you remove 1 ammo counter from this card and discard the top card of the encounter deck, taking indirect damage equal to the number of boost icons on the discarded card. So if you discarded Crossbones machine gun, you would take 3 damage. Yeah, that's pretty good. And there are 2 ammo counters per player, so this is going to stick around for a little while. And you might hit one with no boost counters or boost icons. That is absolutely possible, but this could be an awful lot of cheeky damage, and like I've said, we're expecting to see more weapons from Crossbones. I would not expect that to be the only one we see. Now, we've also been shown the Absorbing Man. Again, only the first stage. 14 hit points are getting quite high. 1 scheme is still pretty low, but 2 attack is getting a little bit higher. An Absorbing Man gains a trait of each environment in play. So once again, we've got a new mechanic here that we need an example of, and we have one: Snowy Hillside. Now, Snowy Hillside is an environment, and it gets put into play when it comes out as a boost card, which is nice. It's got a forced response. After Absorbing Man makes an undefended attack against you, you place 1 threat on the main scheme, but 2 threat instead if there are 5 or more delay counters on the main scheme. The trait there is Ice, so it gains the Ice trait. We've not been told very much about the Absorbing Man, unfortunately. Now, we do have the Treachery card Omnimorph, however, which does illuminate things a little bit more. When it is revealed, if Absorbing Man has the Ice trait, you exhaust your identity. Oh, yeah, that's not ideal. So if you've got Snowy Hillside out, then Absorbing Man has the Ice trait, and if he's got the Ice trait when Omnimorph Duplication comes out, you exhaust your identity. But if he's got the Metal trait, you give him a tough status and heal 1 damage. If he's got the Stone trait, you give him 1 face down boost card, and if he's got the Wood trait, you discard a card at random from your hand. Clearly here, if enough environments come out, and I'm willing to bet a lot of them will have the boost icon, whereby it comes into play like we see with Snowy Hillside, this is going to be quite bad. Having said that, if a lot of them have the boost icon rather than, or the star icon on boost, rather than having lots of actual boost icons, maybe he won't be that much of a threat with scheming or attacking. As always, we're going to have to wait and see. Now, Zola didn't make it into the reveal article, but was shown off briefly in the live stream. And Zola's got 12 hit points. Again, we've only seen the first stage, which is kind of low. 2 scheme is alright, 1 attack is low, and retaliate 1. Every time you attack Zola, you take a damage back. So you really want to be doing either really big attacks or cheeky damage, direct damage, rather than actually... You don't want to just be hitting him for 1 or 2 with the odd attack, because that's going to hurt you as much as it hurts him, and that's not going to be ideal for you. The other thing we were shown for Zola is Zola's Mutate, a minion with 1 scheme 2 attack, 5 hit points. And when it comes out as a boost card, you shuffle Zola's Mutate into the encounter deck. Okay. And when it is revealed, you discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a tech attachment is discarded, and you attach that card to Zola's Mutate. So when it comes out, it's going to come out with a tech card, unless there isn't one, and 2 attack, 5 hit points. That could be awkward. We've seen 3 of the villains a little bit, and I'll be honest with you, they're all looking quite different. Now, we've not really seen anything so far of Taskmaster or Red Skull, so I'm afraid we shall have to wait and see. But we have been promised more reveals as we go. There was just one other random card that was shown. It is Team Training, a 2-cost support card in Leadership, and you play under any player's control, and each ally you control gains a hit point. Given that allies generally a lot of the time take 1 consequential damage for thwarting or attacking, this basically gives you 1 more activation of each of your allies, which has the potential to be really quite busted. And actually, it would be quite rude if I did not mention the other random card that was revealed, Press the Advantage. It is a 1-cost event, it's an aggression card, and it's got a hero action that deals 2 damage to an enemy. But if that enemy is already stunned or confused, you draw a card as well. I like 1-cost cheeky damage cards. 2 cheeky damage is fine, it's alright, it's not amazing, it's fine. But the 1 cost makes me happy. Being able to draw a card so that essentially this almost becomes free. You discard a card from your hand to play it, but then you gain a card when you play it. Yeah, that sounds pretty gosh darn good. And that's basically what we've been shown. We have been shown some fun new playmats. We've got a 1 to 4 player playmat, one of the big ones like we had previously. And we've been shown that we are getting a playmat for both Spider-Woman and Hawkeye, which shouldn't surprise you. We've had a playmat for each of the heroes so far, and we can expect a playmat for each of the heroes going forward. The other thing we were shown was a tease as to the next scenario pack and the next 4 hero packs, but I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I just don't have time to show you my predictions today. In the next couple of days, I will bring you a prediction video here showing you which heroes and which villain I believe these are going to feature. For now, I just want to know what you think about this, and there is a lot to take in here. I've just shown you at least a tease of 3 villains and 2 heroes, while telling you we're getting an actual playable campaign rather than just a mixture of heroes and villains. This seems extremely exciting, and as someone who plays the game as much as I do, yeah, this one's got me pretty excited. I'm hyped. Could you tell? But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think. I want to know how excited you are. I would like to know where your hype level is, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Me nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Marvel Champions and Digimon and all kinds of fun games. But by far, and do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get weekly bonus podcasts, that kind of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.